welcome to today's video. So as you can see here, we have my 1988 BMW 528e. So the purpose of today's video is for me to introduce to you guys how I wired up the launch control offered by N2MB Racing. It offers launch control and flat foot shifting for pretty much any EFI application. There's no standard instructions for this application itself, so I figured I'd just go ahead and make a video for you guys and make it easier for those BMW people. I got great response from the E36 video with about 14,000 views last time I checked, which is pretty insane. So I figured why not, share some information that I got while I was installing it. Alright, so I'm in the car right now, and from what you guys can tell, it looks pretty original. Obviously I have a lot of air fresheners, and you can see right away I have one of these squares block off plates pushed out. I actually have the launch control module in there. You can see it light up when I turn on the key. Aside from that, I wanted to keep it discreet for being able to turn it on and off while you're not using it, as well as storage for the USB cable, which is right here, easily accessible. Plug in my laptop, make any changes I need to make, stuff it back in, and you get nothing but a little blue glow from here if you have it on. If you want it off, you click the button and it turns off. We're going to go ahead and start with the power side of the wiring for this. So here's the engine bay of my 88 E28. So looking under the hood, generally I assume these 80s BMWs will have the ignition coil in this area. Obviously you can just find your spark plug wires and find the leading coil wire, and there is your coil. So underneath this protective boot, we're going to have two wires aside from the actual spark plug wire itself. So let's fill this up. So as you can see, I have a green wire coming from the factory harness here. That originally is a spade connector that goes on the positive side of this ignition coil. Now basically what we did is we took that positive and we fed it to the positive of the watt box, and after the computing or whatever happens inside of the watt box, the signal will then come back to the coil. And you leave the negative side as is, do not touch this side. This is your actual spark signal from the computer, so generally you want to leave that one alone. They say that if you hook this up to the watt box, this will damage it, so do not touch this. So I put some spade connectors, probably should do a little better, but it's testing for now. I've been working on it for like a month trying to get it to work. So basically green goes to red, and then the orange from the watt box comes out and into the original location of that. I go ahead and put this boot back on, and basically that, along with a chassis ground, will be enough to get the vehicle started. So here is your Motronic 1.3 ECU. If you have 1.1, I'm not sure how this information will reflect. You can go ahead and look online and see how the wire diagrams compare, but I'm not sure on your specific application if it'll work. To get this connector out, there's a silver tab. You pull it towards you. Nope, sorry, away from you. Like that. And that unlocks this back side of it. So you lift away, and you'll see the front is unhooking, and you push back away from you and away from the computer. That's how you disconnect that. And I basically did that so I could double check my pin numbers to make sure that this wire diagram was correct. So I actually took this screw out, took the grommet out, and pushed this whole connector out so I could see each connection in the back of here. And the yellow is our engine RPM signal. This one was the tricky one for me to find out how to get RPM signal. If you know BMW, they use a signal output that goes to the dash, but a lot of the dashboards have a digital chip programmed for each tachometer. Basically, the RPM signal going to the cluster gave me a super erratic reading that was like just way too high of an RPM to be plausible. I contacted N2MB Racing and let them know, hey, you know, this is the issue I'm having. Maybe I can just use the original tachometer output and use a resistor of some sort until I get the correct RPM reading. And basically they advised me, go ahead and try and run off of the crank position sensor wiring, and you can select a different model vehicle, such as, you know, the Mazda 3 or the Neon, and see which one would give me the closest RPM reading. Alright, so I've actually just go ahead and peeled off the connector body, and you can see my two wires coming in, my yellow and blue. The blue one goes to a brown and black wire, and my yellow wire goes to the black side of the crank position sensor. Again, these are temporary connections. I was just trying to make sure everything's working properly before finally wiring it correctly. Alright, so we've gone over these four wires here: orange, red, power, and then your signal input for RPM, yellow, throttle position signal, blue. And now we have to see our green wire and how that is hooked up. And if you come down here underneath your steering column, for the E28, I have this connector, which is two green and red wires. They are both exactly the same. So what I did was I stuck the green wire into one side of this switch here, and basically you click read on the watt box and it will tell you the voltage, and by connecting it to one side it was constantly 0 volts grounded. So that's normal, so you need to actually use the other side, which switches ground while you press the clutch. So basically, if you're not pressing it, it's grounded. If you push the clutch, then it will not be grounded. It'll be an open circuit, and it will know, hey, you're not, you know, the clutch is being pressed. So what I had to do here, that I had another clutch position switch in my toolbox that would work, because mine was actually sticking and not working. So I made myself a little adapter harness, and I connected the watt box in there with this harness as well. It looks blue, but it's green. And basically this is the switch side, this is constant ground, which is just ground, and this one feeds my cruise control and the watt box and lets it know, hey, you're not pressing the clutch, everything's okay, we can continue with cruise control. Or, hey, now you are pressing the clutch, what do you want to do, launch control, or are we flat foot shifting? And basically go from there. So after you've got everything wired up, as soon as you turn on your ignition switch, you should see the lights come on the watt box. Another thing you should see is when you press your throttle all the way down, you will see the blue light flash. So here we go. There we go, we are flashing. And while you are full throttle to test the clutch switch, you're seeing the light flash, and simply press the clutch. And as you see there, it stops for a second and continues to flash because I'm still floored. If your watt box is not doing this after you've made your connections, then this is where we have to go to the computer and see what we need to change in order for it to work with your setup. Here we're going to do our in-car demonstration of launch control and flat foot shifting. And unfortunately, I do have a stock exhaust, so you might not be able to hear it, but I'll give you guys a quick test for the flat foot shifting going from 2 to 3. Floored all the way, clutch in, shift, release, and it was smooth as butter. RPMs cut out perfectly, RPMs fell down as you're shifting, and you keep your foot on the pedal the whole time. You do want to be careful if you do have a catalyst in your car. If you do launch control and flat foot shifting, if you abuse it too much, your catalytic converter is going to get very hot and trying to burn all that unburned fuel, and you may damage it in the process. Got the camera in position, so hopefully you guys can see both my feet and my RPMs and speed. So here we go. Clutch in. Have it. That's the flat foot shifting as well as launch control, working on an M20 engine with the Motronic 1.3. I really hope you guys, got some useful information out of this thing. I know it was kind of quick, kind of just an overview video, not really an install. But I think I went over enough for you guys to be able to figure it out. If you guys have any questions, like always, go ahead and just leave them in the comments. I'm always, waiting for new comments. And even if it's not a BMW application, maybe you guys have something else. Just go ahead and drop a question. Maybe I'll be able to help you guys out. If not, if you have the Watt box and you're not sure what to do, maybe you're better off contacting N2MB Racing. Maybe they've dealt with your specific situation before. But if this helped you, I'm glad I could be of help, and I hope to see some videos of other E30s and, well, mostly E28s is what I want to see, but not as common.
Oh shit! Jake turned that bitch! You got new control on! That's spit flame, bro.